Hey Yogi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey. I'm Kelsey Yogi here on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And today we're taking it down a little bit, none of the intensity. We're just gonna start from the basic. We're gonna build that crow. So I wanna help you get your crow pose, your Bakasana, well technically Kakasana in yoga. It's one of the first arm balances that a lot of people learn. That doesn't mean that it's easy. When I say beginner, I mean the beginning version of Bakasana, beginning version of crow. Any arm balance in itself is not beginner. It's tough. So be patient with yourself, patient and persistent, but of course listening to your body. So if your wrists are starting to really give you sharp shooting pains, like that's it, no more. But you know, arm balances and inversions and a lot of these hard things that we tend to do in yoga, it takes a little bit of that heat, that intensity, that desire that's showing up again and again. So by all means, give yourself that permission to push through a little discomfort, but please don't push into a point where there's pain. So first of all, let me show you what Bakasana or crow pose looks like. It's a fun arm balance that can be used to build a lot of strength and awareness upside down. And I love this posture and I use it a lot in my classes, but first we gotta be able to hold it, right? So let me help you find your crow pose. The first thing that's really important when it comes to Bakasana is taking the right shape. You need to be able to come into a pretty deep yoga malasana, like a yoga squat. You don't have to have your heels down like I do, but you want to be able to, get the knees open decently wide, and you want to be able to get the knees on the arms. Now, some people do take the knees to the outside of the arm like this, rather than right on the arm like this, and who's to really say which one is correct or which one's the right way to do it? I like my knees on my arms, but you may practice it with the knees on the outsides of the arms a little bit, but I think stack the bones. Let the bones do some of the work so that the muscles don't have to do so much, but try both, see what works best for you. I'm gonna say start here in Yoga Malasana though. Get the knees on the triceps, so the back of the arm, and even more so the top of the tricep if possible. Even up towards the armpit would be best, right? I like wearing leggings because it gives me a little bit of friction, but some men, they know they practice in shorts and then the skin's exposed on their leg and in the arm, so make sure that you wipe the sweat off, get a towel, wipe all that sweat off, because if you're slippery, you're gonna slide right off. So get your knees on your triceps or on the outsides of them. I'm gonna go with on for this video though. And then we're gonna shift forward. As you shift forward, you're gonna have to kind of take your face down and forward, hands down, and when my hands go down, my butt is gonna go up. So hands down, tail up, and now, from here, I want you to think about rounding your upper back. Spread your shoulder blades, protraction of the upper back. And as you protract the upper back, I'm pulling the low belly in. So all of this rounding that happens in the back is gonna help create strength for the shoulders and then for the core, for the abs. So I'm gonna hands down, and with the hands down specifically, I'm gonna turn my hands out just a little bit. So when I say out, I mean just a little bit outward. So when I turn my hands outward, notice how my elbows kind of draw in. That naturally happens. My hands are perfectly parallel. My elbows are a little farther, that's okay. But if I turn my hands out just a little, my elbows draw in. And that's gonna make it easier for your knees to have a spot to sit on, to land on. So get in that squat, hands down, maybe hands out just a little bit. Use the heel of your hand, use the base of your fingers, use the tip of your fingers, because we need to grip the ground. That grabbing, that gripping of the ground is really important. And then here's the next thing. We're rounding the upper back, we're pulling the belly in, we're shifting forward. When you shift forward, you may feel like you want to do this, and we're not quite there yet. That's more of a crane pose, and I want you to keep a bend to the arms. The arms have to stay bent back and somewhat kind of in. And that turning of the hands out, that's gonna help. So hands down, tail up, round the upper back, pull the belly in, elbows bend back, keep the knees on the triceps, and shift forward. When you shift forward, you're putting the weight into the hands, into the shoulders, and out of the feet a little bit, all right? So that's the basic shape of taking crow pose. And you can do just that, practicing it with your feet down. Why not? That's gonna make it a little bit easier, less spooky. Try it that way before you start lifting the feet up. So here's the next things that I kind of worked on when I was beginning to get my crow pose down in order to build strength. So let's go back to that shape, knees on the arms,
hands down, is that shifting forward. I would let myself do these little practice rocks. I would push back into the heels, weight out of the arms, and then forward into the hands, and feel the gripping strength of the hands and shift back. Let yourself do that 10 or 15 times, all while keeping the knees on the arms and not letting the knees slide off to the sides or slide down the arms. They're going to some. They're going to slide down some. Try to avoid it. The leggings will help with that. And keeping the elbows bent will help too. When you start to straighten the arms, you're going to lose that landing spot. So practice doing just that shift forward. And then once that feels, manageable, then shift forward and hold. And then maybe start to count. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, and build that up just with the shifting forward, keeping that hand grip strength, keeping the arms bent. Finding strength in the arms when they're bent is very difficult, so just maintaining that and holding it. You might want to put a timer nearby. That's one of the ways that you'll see me practice a lot, is I will get my timer, I start it, and then I say, okay, I have 5 seconds or 10 seconds to get into my shape. I knew I had 5 seconds on the timer, and then there it goes. And then I shift forward and I watch the timer go, and I'm maintaining the shape, I'm maintaining my form, I'm working on slowing my breath, keeping my gaze nice and steady, and then boom, there I hit 10 seconds and I let myself come out. And with the timer, you can slowly build that. Every day that week, if that's what you're practicing, you do 10 seconds every day, or 3 sets of 10 seconds. Next week, I'm gonna do all 15 seconds. The next week, I'm gonna do 20. And your feet are down, but you're building that upper body strength to shift forward and to hold the weight. So next step, after just maintaining the shape and holding, then let's try lifting one foot. Same kind of thing you can do. You can get that timer nearby, or you can count in your head and shift forward, lift one foot, and hold. Now it doesn't matter if the foot's here or here, it's really up to you. Obviously when you're in the full crow pose, the foot's higher, but as long as the foot's up and the elbow still bends in, you're still holding more of the weight. And then of course, make sure that if you do 10 seconds with the right foot lifted, you do 10 seconds with the left foot lifted. And doing that every day is gonna help build your confidence too. When you only have just maybe the big toe down or just a couple of toes on one foot, that's gonna help you build more strength in the shoulders. The other thing that you can do is to put a block down. That's gonna get the feet up a little bit higher, and as the feet get up, you're gonna shift more of that weight into the shoulders. So set yourself up on the block, and I know it's not a very big spot, but you start yoga squat on the block, hands down. Look how I'm already tucking my knees into my elbow, or into my armpits. Hands down, shift forward. The shift forward is so important. Not only is it important that we put the weight into the shoulders, but then my hands get to be my grips and they're my brakes. So if I feel like I'm gonna fall forward, I'm pushing with my fingertips to stop myself from falling. So grip, 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 and then I don't fall. So you can point the toes back now. I'm on the tops of the toes. That's gonna put very little weight into the feet because it's uncomfortable. And it's gonna force me to put the weight into my shoulders. So try using a block to get your feet up a little bit higher. Now this is the lowest part of the block. I can go a little higher and then a little higher still. And you can set it up a different way too. You can go into it like this. Do that 1 foot lift, and then maybe I can climb the other foot on. Maybe feet off, one at a time. That's all ways of practicing that crow pose, building your confidence, building awareness of just being in that shape. The other thing that you can use the block for is to start getting little tiny bits of air time in your crow pose. So get back on the block, find your crow, shift forward, and when you feel that shift, I got on my hands, float the feet off, float the feet on, float the feet off, float the feet on. Or maybe do it 1 foot at a time where you step on and you step off. When you're doing that, you're forcing yourself to keep that weight shifted into the shoulders. All that hand grip strength, it's gonna build up over time so that you feel like you can hold yourself. That's the scary part about Bakasana, about crow, is that you feel like, I'm gonna eat the ground. I'm gonna shift forward, I'm gonna eat it. I don't want to knock out a tooth. Like, these are legit fears. I'm 43. I understand healing happens a bit slower at our age. And nobody wants to do that. Like, we enjoy our practice. We don't want to have to sit things out. So what can you do to avoid falling? Well, for one, just acknowledge that falling is scary and falling can definitely cause some injuries and that it can happen. And that in order to do some of this cool stuff that you want to do, you have to take that risk. But maybe in the meantime, you need to do things that will help you to avoid that risk. So, some people use a bolster or a pillow. I like the idea of using a towel better because with a towel, I can fold it up much smaller. The problem with a full-size pillow, like a bed pillow, is that it takes up too much space and then it's gonna cover your hands. Now that drishti in yoga, our gaze point, is super important because where the eyes go, the brain tends to focus in there. And when we lose track of our hands, like say this is a regular sized pillow, like this, not sitting down there, I'd have to be like this. In order to, if it caught me when I fell on my head, my hands are covered up. And it kind of makes the hands invisible to the eyes, to the brain. I mean, I know they're there, but when I can't see them, I lose that gaze point and it's much harder to balance. So I like to fold the towel up, make it as small as possible, maybe do a little practice run of like, okay, this is where my hands are. Yep, that's right where I would fall to. So it's kind of a tripod shape, hand, slightly forward in the center. That's where I put my towel. You can make it longer, but keep it narrow because you really mostly just need it there for your head. And then when you make your way into your crow pose, look right down, slightly between the, not slightly, but between the hands and then slightly forward. That way, when you're in your crow pose, you feel like, then the towel, is folded up and it's gonna catch you. I would say try hard not to turn your head to the side. It's probably gonna jack up your neck. Try to go to somewhat more of the crown of the head. But be careful, it is your neck. You don't wanna do damage on your neck. Go slowly. Some of the things though that I would avoid with your fear is to do it on carpet. Carpet makes it really hard to grip and to balance. When I practice on a hard floor. This is poured cement. A little too hard, but it's hard. And then my yoga mat on top of that. Carpet has padding under it and makes it harder to grip and to balance. When you're doing things on your hands like handstand and crow pose, you need something more solid. So something like tile or wood flooring with a yoga mat on top of it is great. A thicker, squishier mat, it's gonna cause you problems. If you use a very thick padded mat, it's gonna be harder. Maybe try a thinner, a little bit more firm mat. You wanna have something that you can grip with. You might like the grass because you can grab onto the grass. And with the grass, the dirt is much softer so you won't hurt yourself as much if you do fall. But again, it's kind of harder to see your hands if the grass is very long. I would recommend grass over carpet though. I would not use the wall. So sometimes we think, I'm gonna use the wall like in a handstand or a forearm stand. The wall is there for comfort. But with a crow pose specifically, we talked so much about that shifting forward. So in order for the wall to catch you, you have to be able to shift forward and the wall kind of takes that space away from you to shift and to be able to hold. So instead I would put support behind me by putting my feet up on a block rather than putting the wall in front of my face because then it gives you nowhere to fall to. The other thing that I don't really like about crow pose, sometimes people use a strap, like a hard cloth strap. I don't love straps. Some people have great use with them. It's not for me because with straps, it kind of takes away the safety of falling because your arms are bound together. So instead of a strap, maybe try one of the very thick elastic bands. Black, probably the strongest version that you have. Put it all the way up over the elbows, just like you would a regular strap. Now this kind of keeps the elbows drawing in. If your lats aren't quite strong enough to keep the elbows in, a band might be a better idea. That way if you're falling, you still can take that hand away to catch yourself, but you still have the stability of the band kind of helping to at the same time. So you can use it to help keep the elbows drawing in rather than letting them flare out. And there you go. Those are some of my best tips that I got for crow pose. When it comes to arm balances and inversions, yes, they're scary, yes, they're hard, and yes, you're very capable, but you have to show up again and again and again, patient, persistent, with this almost delusional belief of like, I can't do it, I'm not strong enough yet, but I can do it with one foot, I can do it with the block behind me, I can do it for 5 seconds, and just believe that if you keep showing up on your mat and you keep putting the work in, it will come. It will absolutely come. So good luck with your Bakasana. I hope that that helps you. Let me know in the comment section what you'd like to learn next, and I will try to help you. I'm happy to help you get on your mat and maybe take a little bit of flight. Please share this on your social medias and like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. I really appreciate you guys. Have a great day and namaste.